Hello everyone, I'm Juan Isberto, and this is Optics, the Politics of Perception. In this program, we're going to take a look at what the presidential candidates are saying, how they're saying it, and why they are saying it, to get people on their side. And to help us understand how this goes, what this process entails, we are talking with different experts in the fields of communication, journalism, advertising, just to see what is really going on underneath all of this.
Two joints.
Yung pinapangarap po nating bansa.
Pagandahin po natin ang ating minamahal na bansang Pilipinas.
And tonight, we're going to be taking a look at the presidential campaign of none other than Senator Ping Lacson. And with us to discuss this campaign, we have Mr. John Nery, longtime veteran journalist, and who is also, by the way, now a part-time teacher and lecturer on media and politics in the Ateneo de Manila University. Welcome, John. Welcome, and thank you for joining us in this program.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, sige, let's go straight into our subject. Senator Ping Lacson. And as we normally do in the show, we start with the images. This is, after all, optics.
That's right.
Let's take a look at this video.
At ang aking tagumpay, tagumpay ng ating lahi, tagumpay ng ating lipi, ang tanging minimithi at hinahangad, hangat ko'y tagumpay natin lahat.
Okay. Reaction, John. Senator Lacson's image has been largely shaped by his past work. Diba? And he was, of course, a police officer before he became a politician. So, Mr. Law and Order ang dating, hindi ba? How does that work? Do you think that appeals to Filipinos?
Yes, I think it does. But before I answer that in full, I would like to point out something that struck me watching this ad. And that's the difference between his first presidential run in 2004 and this current run. And that is, now he has a running mate. So he was very much a lone wolf in 2004.
That's right.
He was a new senator, only 2.5 years in office. And he decided to run for president in 2004 without a running mate. He's learned over the years that it's very difficult to run without
alone.
Alone. And I think he's also banking on his experience. Since then, he's been elected 2 more times into the Senate. So he's completed 3 terms in the Senate. He works with all political blocs. So one of the things, at least me as a journalist watching this, one of the things I realize is that that's part of his messaging now. He's not alone. He has a very formidable running mate.
That's right.
Somebody who's won even more Senate terms than he has. I think Tito Soto is a 4-term senator. So I think that's the first thing that struck me. Going back to the Law and Order, so that's really his brand.
Okay.
So he was a famous or infamous policeman. And that fame or infamy was amplified through a movie starring Rudy Fernandez. So
nasa Pilipinas tayo dyan, so
That's right.
Kailangan somehow may pelikula somewhere, somehow.
That's right, Super Cop. I want to point out that he's not the only ex-police officer who's made it to the Senate. National office, right?
That's right.
So you have barbers, you have Bato de la Rosa, and then you have ex-soldiers as well, like Biazon.
Well, don't forget President Fidel Ramos.
Yeah, well, Fidel Ramos was not in the Senate, but was elected to the highest office in the land, right? Yes. So I think definitely the Law and Order appeal is very potent. even today.
Bakit ba? Why do you think? Is it because magulo yung bayan natin? Kaya yung mga tao naghahanap ng somebody who can impose order or impose some kind of civility in society?
I think that's true. We do feel anxious and recent development, national as well as global, given us more reason to be anxious. But I think it's also because we are a conservative country. By conservative, I mean exactly the kind of values that they were trying to portray. So may mano po.
Focusing specifically on Senator Lacson's history, I mean, his work experience, etc., etc. But there's one thing that stands out for me as well. PMA, Philippine Military Academy graduate. I'm a little familiar with that because my dad was also a PMA graduate, class 42. That was a long time ago.
Okay.
But in that culture, there's this officer and gentleman type of tradition, na hindi ka lang sundalo na mabangis, ikaw ay magalang din at gentleman din. Is that something that also can be of an asset in this kind of political campaign?
Yes, I think there are two things that come to mind when I think of Ping Lacson and his formation as a PMA cadet. One is the officer and gentleman ethos. You can also see that in, for instance, former Senator Trillanes. When PMA graduates, whether consciously, whether deliberately or not, were taught that they could in fact run the country. When Marcos declared martial law in 1972 and took over some companies, he actually placed officers
yes.
to run, the National Steel Corporation, and and it was just, it was very much a part, I think, of that historical moment, and he belongs to that.
Okay.
So I do not wonder why he thinks he should run for president. It's part of his formation as much as the officer and gentleman.
Well, aside from being a PMA graduate, he also was a member of the Reform the Armed Forces movement. So, which is an unusual development in the armed forces at that time compared to the past decades. Kasi parang when you talk of the Reform the Armed Forces movement, it's a more politically oriented group, di ba? So, how do you think this impacts here?
I actually don't remember him as a RAM member. I mean, the prominent ones were Gringo Honasan, Red Kapunan, and so on. But I want to stress that we should not. What they did, they had a role to play in our history. We should not romanticize what they tried to do. They tried to take over the country. They tried to stage a coup against Marcos. And I think that's, again, part of their formation. They thought they could run the country.
Okay, now, John, we're gonna have to take a break. Pero mga kapatid, huwag po kayo umalis. We'll be right back. Welcome back mga kapatid, and we're going to continue our discussion of Senator Ping Lacson's campaign with our veteran journalist guest, Mr. John Nery. Sige, John, tuloy tayo, no? Let's now focus on the campaign messaging of the Senator Lacson's campaign, no? You have a couple of key, for example, ito, no? This is the latest version, I think, no? We
That's right.
need leaders, no? And I think this came after, I think, the breakup,
yes,
no? With the group of Congressman Alvarez, no?
That's right.
So, but how do you assess yung messaging na, we were talking about the image na law and order. Yung campaign messages nila, kakayahan, katapatan, katapangan. So, medyo consistent naman, hindi ba?
I actually see the two main messages being communicated. If you remember, and in fact, I think it's even running up to now, the first phase of his communication campaign was portraying him as heneral ng bayan.
Yeah.
So this is a step up from super cop, right? So it's playing on the popularity the pop culture centrality of General Luna.
Sounds like, I was about to say, sounds like a movie. Anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Now it's a different movie, from Super Cup to which was based on his life story, to General Luna, which is based on the story of the best general during the Philippine-American War. So Heneral ng Bayan, that's the first message. But there's also a second message that he's been conveying, and that's based on his 3 terms in the Senate. He has a, I must say, well-deserved reputation as a master of the legislative process, who's able to work with all political blocs. So I've heard firsthand from opposition senators, for instance, who praise Senator Lacson for his role in making sure that the Senate is productive, comes out with actual legislation. It's not exactly a perfect fit, you know. So you have the Heneral ng Bayan, who will protect us from terrorists and criminals, and then also you have a person who will say, you know, I mastered the budget. And in fact, I attended the debates, that was part of his main messaging then.
Yeah.
That I understand the process. This is what needs to be done, and you know, he talks about the budget. When he goes in his sorties, he talks about the budget. Very few people understand how the budget works, and it's a real credit to him. But I don't know if that sells.
Oh, well,
So
okay.
that's the thing. So you have the Heneral ng Bayan, and then you have the master politician or statesman. I think those are the 2 main messages that I see coming from him.
Well, aren't they in a way complementary? On the one hand, yung isa medyo high-flying, di ba? Heneral ng Bayan. On the other hand, sinasabi niya, oh, I know how this works, no? And I can make it work. Parang ganon. So aren't those 2 messages complementary?
Yeah, yes, I guess. I can see that they can work together. It's not, like I said, a perfect fit, but yes, they can complement each other. As you said.
Okay. But then, sige. Now, kung ganyan ang campaign's slogans at saka messaging niya, okay, how about this one?
Oh, this is a necessary pivot. No?
Okay. Force of circumstance.
Yes, former Speaker Alvarez had been looking for a presidential candidate back, and Ping Lacson was not the only one that he and his group considered. Alvarez ran a campaign called, if I'm not mistaken, We Need a Leader. So it was, I think they even used the services of Eli Buendia, if I'm not mistaken. There was a very nice, catchy song that went with it. But in the middle of the campaign, Alvarez, looking at the numbers, said, I don't think Ping Lacson is going to win, so shifted support to Vice President Leni Robredo. And I think this is the necessary pivot that he had to make. He did not want to let go of the We Need a Leader, so he just sort of he tweaked that to make it his own. We need leaders now, and may mga patama sa politiko. No? So I guess it says something about the way he thinks of himself, his self-image, that after almost 18 years in the Senate and I don't know how many, 30 years in the police force, that he can say hindi siya politiko.
Okay.
No? He can use that, say tama na sa politiko. I think that's the way he really sees himself. No? That he's in politics, but he's not the traditional politician.
Okay.
Yan ang tama na sa politiko.
Yes.
We need real leaders. Siya yun.
I was about kasi to comment kasi parang di ba nagko-contradict yung sasabihin mo hindi ako politiko pero at the same time ang galing ako sa politics, no? So pero
yeah, so that's the the thing he has to navigate, no? That he's trying to do. Again, as you said, force of circumstance. He had to do this because a major source of support shifted to another candidate, and he had already been running in part on this theme that we need real leadership.
Okay, but you know, this is. Let's just discuss quickly, John. You know, that pivot that he had to make, this change of circumstances, no, which has affected not only him but also other presidential candidates. No, it's kind of what changed the equation in the political scene. No? there had been a shift to support of some people to Vice President Leni Robredo. Isko Moreno has also reacted to that. He has also reacted to that in that famous press conference, which I'm still trying to understand. What was
This one,
yes, this one, this famous press conference,
Mr. Sunday.
where well, people thought that one type or another type of announcement would be made, but apparently, what do you make of this? What kind of messaging came out of this event from the point of view of Senator Lacson?
I think that maybe even before we talk about what really happened, whose bright idea this was, I think we can already agree that they were not putting out the best versions of themselves. In the first place, they all had to backtrack the day after.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Oh.
Ping Lacson said, well, actually, it was only Isko who called for the withdrawal of Vice President Robredo. With, he could have said that disclaimer right in the press conference, but it was, in other words, they did not come off as masters of their situation. So they were only invited and they had nothing to say. So Norberto Gonzales also said the same thing. Nadala lang sa emosyon si Mayor Isko, si Yorme. No?
But what was the point? I think that's the question that people are asking. Bakit ba nag-press conference in the first place?
This is my own reading, that it was really the idea of Isko Moreno's camp. But Isko has a better relationship with Ping Lacson than with Vice President Robredo. And I think Isko also imagines he has a better relationship with Manny Pacquiao, who was also invited and was actually supposed to be part of the statement, although he didn't sign the final statement. So I think the initiative came from Isko Moreno. This is my own reading. And I think they really wanted to use Easter Sunday, so there was no campaigning on Holy Thursday and Good Friday. People were just, going back to pay attention again to politics. And they probably thought that this was a good way to jumpstart, the home stretch of the campaign. Well, I just mixed metaphors there, jumpstart and home stretch. But they were able to invite other presidential candidates who did not know what they were in for. So I really think that it was a political stunt pulled by Isko Moreno's campaign. And I think we will see in the surveys, I think a new one is coming out, or will be out very soon by Pulse Asia. I think we will see that has had an impact on this.
Okay, but then...
But it doesn't add anything to the image or the positioning of Ping Lacson.
Well,
Nadala lang siya.
Okay, but that's what I was going to ask now. Okay, after this particular episode, how is Senator Lacson's imaging and messaging now playing out? I mean, he's made that adjustment now. We are the leader, no? But what else do you see his camp doing in terms of messaging and the messaging that they're trying to deliver to the electorate? Meron bang adjustment silang ginawa?
Unfortunately, he is making an adjustment but in the wrong direction. He has started attacking Vice President Robredo, either directly or indirectly. This actually started when Robredo was able to pull off a massive rally in Cavite, which is his home province.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And then Congressman Boying Rimulya hinted that many of the people who went there, many of his own province mates who were there, were actually, communists. And for some reason, Ping Lacson decided to pile on, and he added, he red tagged, and he has continued to do so. So he has adjusted to his change to the change in circumstances, but I'm afraid it's in the wrong direction.
Okay.
Wrong because it's not going to earn him the votes that he needs. Nobody, likes seeing a man, stepping on a woman
Oo nga pala, no? Merong ganung angulo yan, no?
Yes.
Oh.
So I think that's also what's going to happen to Isko Moreno. It's difficult. How do you fight a woman if you wanna make an impact on that woman's campaign?
Okay, we have to take a break, John.
Sure. Okay.
Before we wrap up the show, mga kapatid, don't go away. Babalik po kami. Okay, welcome back mga kapatid. Tuloy tayo sa discussion natin sa presidential campaign ni Senator Ping Lacson, and with us of course is our veteran journalist John Neri. Sige John, okay, let's try to put this together na, no? Senator Ping started off with this campaign, law and order, officer and gentleman, etc., offering a orderly and peaceful path to progress. Tapos medyo nagkaroon ng ganitong kaguluhan dito in the middle of the campaign, no? Now, in the home stretch, what do you think in terms of imaging and messaging should the Senator's campaign focus on? Should they go back to their old messaging? O ano bang dapat nilang gawin sa tingin mo?
I think with just a few days left to the election, we have to accept, we have to come to terms with reality. He is going down to defeat. So I think that maybe they should pivot to damage control. I think he needs to save his reputation. He is 74, not exactly a spring chicken, but he can, from all indications, he is very healthy. He can run for the Senate again in 3 years. Same thing with Senate President Tito Soto. So maybe I think what they can do is, just finish the race. So, they can tell everyone, we did what we had to do, but not create unnecessary enemies. Not stoke more suspicion about, your true character. So, unfortunately, because of his military police background, it seems very easy for him to red tag people. Now he is also the very proud principal sponsor of the Anti-Terror Act.
Legacy preservation, is that, or something that you could, or it's an asset that you can still use if he still wants to get into politics?
Yes, maybe in corporate or advertising terms, maybe brand equity. Like saving your brand equity. He has a reputation of being in control of his emotions. He's very deliberate about his positions. No, even in the debates, that's very, very clear.
Yes.
He's prepared and all that. And for him to end the campaign with these seemingly off the cuff, unplanned, unscripted airing of views, I think it's not to his best advantage.
Okay. But to his agenda, law and order agenda, is that something that you think will still resonate in this campaign towards in the last 2 stages at this point?
I was really struck by what he said during the April 3 debate, and I realized that he was in fact a continuity candidate. He did say this. There are enough the problem is not with our political system. He says there are enough safeguards in our political system. You just need the right kind of leader. And I realized that his self-image is that of a person who will save the system. Is that a message that will resonate with voters? I'm not sure. I don't know. He was never he's been a maverick policeman. But he's never been the insider, outsider like the Duterte father and daughter.
Oh, you mean
right?
Insider politician, but who's also an outsider.
Yeah, like an outsider reputation, but actually, has been a traditional politician for many years. He cannot credibly pull that off.
Okay.
That I am outside, I'm a rogue politician. It turns out that it's very much integrated into his brand. that he is a product of the system and that he has learned to master that system and he wants to save that system. Whether enough Filipinos want that political system to be saved is another matter.
Well, John, on that rather mysterious note, maraming salamat. Thank you very much, John, for being with us in this episode and this fascinating discussion about Senator Ping Lacson's campaign.
Again, thank you for having me. It's great to be sitting with a real master.
Oh, well, then, what should I say when the master says that? I don't disagree. Anyway, thank you very much again, John. And mga kapatid, that's it for this episode. And I hope that you picked up, more insights as to how the presidential candidates are running their campaigns. And here's a case study of what happens when things take a different direction right in the middle. That's a very difficult situation for any candidate. Do I go off in a very different direction? Do I continue on what I started with? Do I try to preserve my brand equity, as John was saying? What do I do? I think that's a question that Senator Ping Lacson and his team has to work on now. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out in the few days left in this campaign. In the meantime, again, thank you for joining us. I am Juan Isberto. This is Optics, the politics of perception.